The most impressive and mysterious city of Jordan is Petra. It was probably built in the 4th century BC. Built may not be a proper term for it. It was more created or shaped, since the city itself is a narrowing passage with buildings and facades carved into the yellow, pink, and red sandstone walls. So it's completely different from our idea of a city. There are researchers who dispute whether it was in fact a city or just a necropolis with temples, shrines, sacrificial altars, a theater built for sacral rituals, tombs built for civilians, and monumental sepulchres created for kings. If you look at the narrow, cubical chambers hidden behind the unbelievably gorgeous ornamental facades, you have to admit that these would have been more suitable for the needs of the dead than the living, who need more space to move around. Despite that, researchers say that in its prime, Petra was a city of 30,000 inhabitants with a developed infrastructure. Our host showed us the cave apartment where he was born, on the walls of which you can still see the name inscription of the Nabatean family who lived here in the 4th century BC.
I was born in a cave in Petra, and I'm so pleased to be born and start and shout for the first time in the beautiful mountain rock and to hear my echo still existing till nowadays. And I feel I am belong to this place and the place belongs to me, and I do believe that there is a legend in these mountains and in these places and all that places those great people had passed through. And when you are here in Jordan, I do believe that you will get the same feeling and you will go back as a new person.
Between 1974 and 1980, the government evacuated the Bedouins who lived here by providing them with housing in the modern section of the city. Niazi Shaban studied archaeology. Then he worked as a manager here at the Petra Archaeological Complex. Currently, he's the head of a family business managing a travel agency, and his main goal is to endear his beloved country to more and more foreigners. Some researchers question whether these rock structures were carved by the Nabateans, or if they just moved into the city that was already here. Looking at the architecture of the remaining buildings, the use of Hellenistic motifs instead of Oriental and Arabic decorations is prominent. The fusion of Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Persian, and Greco-Roman architectural elements created a unique Nabatean style. What we know about the Nabateans is that they were nomadic Arab tribes who crowned their sheikhs to kings. If you accept what scholars say, their religion did not require human sacrifices, although they regularly practiced animal sacrifices and had an advanced cult of the dead. The Nabateans appeared in the 5th century BC. Their kings had the names of Aretas, Obodas, Malchus, and Rabel. They made their living by patrolling caravan routes. Petra was a station on the so-called Incense Road, a caravan road that connected the Mediterranean with South Arabia. Incense was transported to Egypt for religious rituals, and myrrh was used for fumigation, perfumes, and medicine. Most people believe that the reasons for the fall of the Nabatean Empire were the redirection of commercial routes and the Roman conquest. Then the decaying city was finally cut off from the outside world by the earthquake of 747 AD, just like Jerash. Coming out of the narrow crevice, you'll see the most famous structure of Petra. It looks like a temple, and it's called a treasury, but it was used for burials. The legend about the treasures of the pharaoh being hidden here in Petra is just as improbable as the other one, claiming that this is where Moses brought water from the rock. The Bedouins denied even the city's existence to the armies that came here during the Crusades. They were successful in keeping it secret up until 1812. Petra was basically discovered twice by the world. In the said year, a young Swiss explorer of the Orient, Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, managed to get into the city by disguising himself as a Bedouin. Supported by the Sultan of Constantinople, he resumed 6 years later with a group of people including the painter William Banks. Yet the first beautiful public paintings were not made by him, but by a young French marquis, Léon de Laborde. Expeditions, drawings, and books about the city followed in quick succession. Among them, the Scottish Orientalist David Roberts deserves mention. After that, due to the world wars and other events, it was as if Petra had been lost again. Then, in 1989, it was not a scholar or an explorer who made it popular again, but George Lucas of Star Wars fame, who came here with Steven Spielberg to shoot the third movie of the Indiana Jones trilogy starring Harrison Ford. Moviegoers all over the world gasped when they learned that the gorgeous temple carved into the pink hillside is not the creation of set designers and visual FX masters, but a real-life monument. The flood of tourists has been unstoppable since then. There's no end to the books, articles, and explorers dealing with Petra. The busiest researcher of the city is American archaeologist Leanne Bedal, who publishes her discoveries in trade journals and on the internet. According to her, Petra was much bigger and richer than it has been assumed on the basis of findings. Next to the theater, a pool of 43 by 25 meters was discovered that had a 10-meter tall pavilion richly embellished with red, orange, and blue stuccos on an artificial island in it. The water supply of the great pool, just like the other pools, came through an elaborate water distribution system from a cistern built on top of the mountain 6.5 kilometers away. The so-called outer Sikh, leading from the treasury to the theater, is lined by a lot of tombs. That was Necropolis, the city of the dead. Above the 7,000-person theater stand the obelisks of Disaris and Afangates, the two main gods of the Nabateans, and the sacrificial altar. The royal tombs have not remained in as good condition as the treasury. Due to their more exposed location, the rain and the wind began to wear away the sandstone, shaping truly interesting forms in it. The building called the monastery, nothing is what it's called in Petra, is really a temple with a 50-meter-high facade that was the venue of the festivals to honor the dead. The exit can be reached through the old main road, the Cardo Maximus, lined by Roman columns. This is the parking lot for the camels and donkeys advertised by their cheerful owners as air-conditioned cabs.